Thank you, President Tom. We'll start with introduction of guests from the podium, and Josiah has.
Yeah, we've got Dwight Voss and we've got Jesse Barrios, both of them with Crossbridge and Verdi, and we're glad they're here, or at least I am.
We are as well, and you're all welcome to come back anytime.
We'll take it one.
Just one note, please take note of the flyer that was on your tables. And if you have any questions or need more information, you can see Nick Cascarelli at the back table at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Okay, today's speaker is Josh Martin, speaking to us about artificial intelligence, and to introduce him is Beth Weaver. Thank you. Sorry.
That's okay. Hi, I'm Kim Sayers.
Kim Sayers. Sorry.
It's an honor to be called that way. Josiah Martin has spent his entire career in marketing, advertising, and technology. He currently serves as the president of Crossbridge Marketing, Verdi Design, and Orgo Printing. As a developer, Josiah has keen insights into the history, function, and the evolution of AI. Is poised to undergo in the future, that AI is poised to undergo in the future. As an entrepreneur, Josiah understands the potential impact AI will have on businesses in industries across the nation. And as a marketer, he understands the key role that AI plays in analyzing consumer behavior. Some folks in this room have a different definition of AI. But I will tell you, today we're talking about artificial intelligence. Please give a warm Rotary welcome to Josiah Martin.
Thank you. So glad to be here. I'm going to move this way back. And am I in frame still? No, I'm not. I need to tilt it back. My folks, there we go. Is that better?
Yes.
Ha ha ha. Sweet. Now I'm going to spend the next half hour wondering what the other definition of AI is. As a nerd, it's going to mess with my brain until I figure that out. Glad to be here. So very grateful for it. If I am blowing you out, let me know. I'm a naturally loud person anyways. So you forgive me if I'm a little bit too forceful here. This is normally an hour and a half presentation, and my job is to squish this down into a half hour so that I don't put anybody to sleep and so that you guys can get back to your day. My understanding is that we're going to have some QA time afterwards, so I'm going to buzz through these slides as quickly as I can. If something comes up in the middle of this, just make a note of the question that you have. I'll do my best to answer it. It's going to be a technical presentation, and so there are going to be times where I'm going to nerd out. That means I'm going to use a bunch of words and then try to explain what those words mean in layman's terms and try to break this down for us. How many of you guys in here have ever heard of AI? And by that, I mean artificial intelligence, not the secondary definition. All right, most everybody has. There's a ton of hype that surrounds AI right now. It seems like everywhere you turn, somebody's talking about it. And there's a reason for that. It isn't just a buzzword, and it's not just a fad. This is going to be something that fundamentally revolutionizes business, customer interactions, organizations, charitable organizations, just about any aspect of society. Right now, you're probably already interacting with artificial intelligence in some form or fashion, and maybe just don't know it. So how's that going to affect certain aspects of business, and what's that going to do to our economy? Well, according to Gartner, by 2025, it's going to be responsible for $2.9 trillion. That's a big number. I don't care what organization you're with, unless it's, the president of the United States or something. In that case, then you're comparing it to the national debt, in which case it seems small. But 2.9 trillion is a lot of money. So this is something that's going to revolutionize a number of things. I want to get into what AI is. Essentially, artificial intelligence refers to not just an algorithm. This isn't Google, although Google will use it and is using it. And they even bought a company, subsidiary, DeepMind, that they're using to create their Gemini version of artificial intelligence, okay? But this isn't Google in the traditional sense. It's not just an algorithm, though it does incorporate algorithms. It's the ability of a machine to process information like a human being does. Okay, so it's actually a neural network. That means that it has the ability to learn. It has the ability to learn not just from a human being saying, this is what you need to do, and this is the right answer and the wrong answer. That comes in the training process, but a neural network, an artificial intelligence network, is actually able to learn on its own as it consumes information. And it can consume information at an alarming rate, far faster than what a human being can. So it's going to be able to learn, it's going to be able to problem solve, it's going to be able to understand perception, and be able to perceive. So that's hidden meanings inside what you're saying. If you're dancing around a subject, it'll be able to pick up on those things. Some of the nuances of conversation and learning and language processing, it's able to do that and deduce some of those things. So this isn't just a search engine. This is like talking to a computer who behaves and thinks like a human being does. There are a number of different AI models. We're going to walk through some of those pretty quick. There are some different types. There is narrow AI or weak AI. This is the most common AI type that currently is in existence. And that's because AI is actually pretty old, okay? Artificial intelligence has got a much longer history than what most people realize. But that's the most common time. It's used for things like facial recognition, language translation, or even playing chess. One of the earliest demonstrations of AI was in the ability to beat a chess champion. Okay, and then we have general AI, which is strong AI. This type of artificial intelligence would possess human level intelligence and be able to perform any intellectual tasks that a human can. It remains theoretical, okay? This and the next one are going to be theoretical. We're getting closer. We're getting pretty close on the general AI front. The super intelligent AI would be able to surpass any human intelligence. That is on the roadmap, right? So think robots from the skies. Not quite that scary, but we are getting to a place where AI would not just be able to grab what's being fed to it, but actually go out into the world, gather data itself, and then learn from that data, including testing. So both of those two are just in theory right now. Couple more, there's reactive machines. These react to current situations and do not have the ability to form memories or past experiences to inform decisions, okay? So that's gonna be an out of the box, just purely reactive. I feed you this data set, you give me an answer back. You analyze whatever it is that I just gave you. It doesn't think and have a memory as such. That's just a reactive machine. Then there's limited memory. These AI systems can use past experiences to inform decisions, but their memory is limited and short-term. Think self-driving cars, for example, use limited memory to make driving decisions, okay? So it's going to remember that I need to stay between the lines and that I don't want to pass on a double yellow, and then I want to look for other traffic and things of that nature, right? It's going to make decisions like that. So it's got a very short-term memory loop, right? It's basically artificial intelligence with Alzheimer's, right? That's kind of where it's at. Then we have the theory of mind. This is not there yet, but it would be able to do things like understand human emotions, beliefs, intentions. It's still under development. It's not yet been achieved, but we are getting close. One example of that would be that AI has been used to analyze how many nudges it takes to turn somebody who votes traditionally Democrat, let's say, to Republican and vice versa. How many adjustments need to be made in the content that they're regularly consuming to get them to change a core belief, right? So we're getting close even on things like that. I'll let your mind reel on that one for a minute. Then we have self-aware AI. This is the most advanced AI, and it would possess self-awareness and consciousness. It's purely theoretical. We're not anywhere close to that, no matter what anybody tells you. Okay. All right. So We then have machine learning, and these are subcategories of what we just talked about. This is a subset of AI that focuses on algorithms that can learn from and then make predictions about data. So let's say you have a company and let's say you're in the purchasing department and you go, hey, I want to look at the last 5 years, 10 years. I want to know how COVID specifically impacted my supply chains, and I want to know how current world events are going to impact my supply chains and my prices. AI is going to be able to do that, specifically machine learning. Okay, it's going to be able to take that data set and then make predictive analysis out of it. Then there's deep learning. This is a type of machine learning that uses neural networks. That's kind of what you're familiar with if you're familiar with Gemini or Chat GPT, right? This is a neural network. Specifically, it's a natural language processing, or an NLP. It's a system that can understand, interpret, and generate human language. ChatGPT and Gemini by DeepMind would be popular examples of this. And then we have computer vision. This field focuses on AI systems that can interpret and understand visual information from the world, such as images and videos, right? So you're going to be able to tell it, hey, I want you to watch this video and then give me a synopsis of whatever that newscaster just said. It's going to be able to watch that video. It can play through it in real time, or it can even use a technology called Whisper that turns the words into text and then consume it in a matter of a half a second or so. And then it can give you a synopsis of that. Again, really, really fast stuff. This is a visual example of how natural language processing AI works. Over on my left, which would be the same for you. You have an input layer, that's what you're giving it, and then you have multiple hidden layers in the center. They're going to bounce around, and it's going to be analyzing whatever task you just gave it, and then you have output layers. It's the same way that the human mind works, right? We receive inputs visually or audio, and we're listening, we're watching, and then our brain is deciphering that, and then we give a response verbally, or we move our body, whatever the task may be at hand. So the same thing's happening there. This is how that information works. So you ask AI a question like, hey, what should I wear to my next event, right? And then it's going to take that, run it through the hidden layers that it has, and then it's going to spit out an output. Now, AI is only as good as the information that you feed it. It's only ever going to be as good as the information you feed it. The more information you feed it, the better it gets. So it's self-learning, which means it's self-sharpening, which means the longer that it's given a task and the more data you feed it, the stronger it gets, the more accurate it gets. So early on in an AI, in an AI's life, when it's born, you feed it a certain amount of information, and then you also give it the answers. And that's called AI training. You have to train that neural network. And that training process, depending on what you're asking it to do, could last weeks, could last months, could last years. But the more information you give it with the answers, the better it can understand and form. So that's kind of how that works. I don't know what I just did, but I'm going to jump back in. There we go. Brief history of AI. In the 50s and 60s, you may not remember AI in the 50s and 60s, but that's where it started. And AI emerges as an academic discipline, focusing on creating systems capable of intelligent behavior. That's all they wanted it to do. So they wanted to feed the machine rules and strategies. Take the chess example, and they wanted it to be able to say, okay, I want you to think 10 moves ahead, 15 moves ahead, 20 moves ahead, to the point where you can beat a grandmaster. And that was what AI was. That rocked everybody's world. Everybody freaked out. Machines were going to take over the world. And does that feel familiar now? Yeah. Seems like we have some anxiety surrounding that as well. But everybody freaked out. Everybody lost their minds. And then in the 70s, as quickly as it popped up, it went away. And that's what we refer to now historically as the AI winter. There were a bunch of investors that dumped a bunch of money into it, and they didn't see any return on investment. And when an investor doesn't make money back, they've lost money, they tend not to put money there again. So it lost funding, and it was also limited by the ability of computer systems. The chips that they have now versus what was in existence in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, not even on the same stratosphere, right? The silicon chips that we have now have much greater computing power, and so they're able to take advantage of AI and do that. So next one. I'm gonna have to buzz through some of this. 2000s through the presence, you saw a resurgence of that. It feels like it's been just in the last couple of years that ChatGPT made its move onto the market, and Gemini followed suit after Google failed with Bard, and we had all of that go on. And so it seems like it's a really recent thing. It's not. The resurgence of it picked back up in the early 2000s when somebody said, hey, I think we've got enough computing power now to really make something work. Let's start looking at this again. And so that resurgence led to what we have now, the neural networks that we have now. All right, so what does this look like for harnessing AI, let's say in a business or in an organization? One of them is going to be operational efficiency. AI's ability to process and analyze data rapidly translates into more efficient business operations. Any task that is just kind of menial, or hey, I want to know this, or these numbers need work through, or I need this Excel sheet translated over here, or I want to pull this information out, drop that to me in a CSV or an Excel sheet. AI can handle that stuff in a matter of a few seconds, where you're going to spend an hour or two doing it. So quite literally from the top of your organization down, AI has the potential, there are risks, and we're going to get into those, but it has the potential to drastically speed up your workday and that of your employees. Data-driven decision-making, like we talked about a little bit ago, when it comes to, hey, I want to know what my costs are going to be. I want to know how much material I should have. I want to bring my industrial business that's in the manufacturing sector closer to JIT, or just in time, right? AI can help you with that, bring it up to the razor's edge, or bring you fully JIT if that's what you want to do. Enhanced customer experience. AI provides personalized interactions, making customer engagement more effective. And the odds are very good that you've spoken to an AI, and I don't mean the horrible one we're all familiar with. Thank you for calling Verizon, right? Like, it's not what I'm talking about. AI can actually mimic your voice, my voice. All it needs is about a 60-second sample. And if it has enough shots from different angles of your body, AI can create a video of you talking. It'll look like you, it'll sound like you, it'll talk like you, it'll use the same cadence. And in certain neural networks, it'll even use the same vocabulary that you use, so it talks like you. Not just sounds like you, but it talks like you with the cadence of your speech and even the words that you choose. So talk about customer experience. There's an endless possibility there. I'm going to quickly walk through a few large companies, which is where you're going to see some of that innovation happen first. It's going to be in the titans in the world in commerce. They're going to adopt it first. And then you're going to see a trickle down effect happen with a lot of other businesses and organizations. FedEx is one that has done this. They have a much better machine learning model that provides accurate estimates to customers about delivery times. That's the president of FedEx that made that statement. So this is just a quick case study. Again, I'm going to kind of blow through this a little bit and just kind of make it through the presentation as quickly as I can. Essentially, what FedEx did was this. They said, hey, we want to take things like weather patterns. We know that this package is going to go from Washington down to Florida. We know that it's going to be on 2 vans on 1 plane ride, and then it's going to be on 2 trucks and 1 delivery vehicle between where it originates in a warehouse and where it's going to a customer, right? And what is the weather traffic patterns through that? And by the way, what are the flight traffic patterns? Because it's got to take off and go on a plane ride, and then it's got to land. And what time of the day is that going to happen? And what are the expected delays? They fed all of that information into a custom-built neural network, a piece of AI, and that allowed them to say with a much greater degree of accuracy, here's when your package is actually going to get here, even down to the traffic patterns of your neighborhood based on the time of day it's going to be delivered. And then they're also working on integrating that in with things like, hey, we're going to shoot you a text message, let you know exactly when it's going to be here, if it requires a signature, things like that. So FedEx really looking to up their game there. Zara is another one that did this. And so I want to look at this. They've used AI across multiple facets of their operation. Unlike many competitors, Zara minimizes outsourcing, enabling them to exercise greater control and gather data at every step of the business process. You remember a few minutes ago, I said AI is as good as the data you feed it. They fed it a ton of data. We'll get into that. The company utilizes an advanced Just intelligent is what they call it, and normally JIT would be just in time. And they kind of played with the words a little bit and made it just intelligent supply chain system, allowing for real-time optimization of inventory levels and logistics. Xera can rapidly respond to market trends. They also use AI for that, to say, hey, what are people going to want to wear? What are going to be the popular clothing colors? What are going to be the popular clothing styles? What is that going to look like? So they're using it to analyze market trends. And then they're also using it to create an understanding, a very accurate understanding of what their inventory levels need to be, which allows them to do something pretty crazy. They can boast turnaround times in as little as a week. And in a clothing manufacturing that isn't doing a bunch of outsourcing, that's unheard of. So it made a huge difference there. Stitch Fix is another one that has used it. They've been doing this since before it was cool. And I mean that, it's pretty wild. Years before the onset of the AI fever that we see today. Essentially what they do is utilize AI to take pictures or videos of you in real time, figure out what your measurements are, and then recommend clothing that fits, okay? In my case, when I tried it, Stitch Fix sent me to DXL. And that was depressing, but I had a better shopping experience, I have to say. And so Stitch Fix has utilized this to allow them to get customers that have better fits right out of the gate. That's a huge benefit for them because they don't have the people sending clothes back. Their return rates drop. Customers are happy. Happy customers leave reviews, share it on social media. And so you can see where that would allow Stitch Fix to really accelerate in the marketplace. Huge advantage for them. I don't have time to do this, but I do want to point out one piece. The third point down, we've exceeded, this is a quote, 4.5 billion textual data points that we have from customers. That's a lot of information they fed their AI. So how good is their AI at analyzing a person's body fit, knowing what the measurements of the clothes are, knowing what the cut of the clothes are, knowing how it's going to lay, knowing how it's going to fall with 4.5 billion textual data points. It's really good at what it does. All right. AI's challenges. Let me spend just a few minutes, and I'm going to have to buzz through some of these, on the ethical and the practical risks of AI. Ethical implications, AI's decision-making process must be transparent and free from biases, left or right. I'm speaking politically there. We want to make sure that this thing doesn't get loose on either side of the aisle or under the aisle or above the aisle or down the middle of it. It should be very much agnostic when it comes to that, and we need to make sure that those biases are there. Now, biases in AI have to exist. We refer to them as rules. And that would be like if I'm training a neural network, a piece of AI, and I say, I want you to recognize faces, and I want you to pull out of these 5,000 photos of people, I want you to pull out all the folks that have mustaches. Well, I might give it a rule early on in the training process that says a mustache is a patch of hair below the nose and above the mouth. Right? And now it's going to go, oh, that's a mustache. Now I have a definition for it. Those biases and those rules have to be there. I understand, but we need to make sure that they're not driving political leanings one way or the other. Let them be agnostic. It's a computer. It can't vote. Right? But there is a big one there. Workforce impact. AI's role in automation can lead to workforce displacement if not managed responsibly. That's a real concern. Folks that are saying, hey, AI might take over my job one day. That's a real concern, okay? Great companies or good companies, what they're doing with it is allowing them to expand their operation, increase their capacity and their efficiency without having to hire new people. That's a great way to implement AI. Right? Without having, hey, I don't have to hire 10 more people. I can get 5 times the work done with the same staff that I have now. If somebody goes crazy with it, it could really displace a lot of folks in the next couple of years. Security and dependence over reliance on AI could lead to vulnerabilities in business operations. That's a big one. The risks. Sports Illustrated suffered severe reputation damage by using AI to generate articles attributed to real writers. It wasn't. It was AI. And somebody figured it out, and Sports Illustrated got embarrassed, and a lot of writers got fired. Did some damage to the brand. Samsung employees fed sensitive data to ChatGPT, including pieces of source code. Now, Source code, if you're not a nerd, doesn't mean a lot to you. Essentially, what that means to me, what I hear when I read that sentence, is they just gave the keys of the kingdom to ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT is available to the public, which means that all the information you feed it is available to somebody else. Which means that for a period of time, all somebody had to do was plug into ChatGPT. Hey, how would somebody gain access unlawfully or unauthorized access to a Samsung device? How might one do it? You got to be careful about how you phrase it. And it could spit out the answer because they literally fed pieces of source code to ChatGPT. So if your employees or somebody within your organization or you within your organization are feeding sensitive company data, proprietary information to an engine like Gemini or ChatGPT, be very cautious. It's going to go somewhere else unless you're in a siloed environment. Big risk there for businesses. Cybercrime is a huge one. AI-driven automated attacks. Ordinarily, a nerd that wants to hack you has to follow you around, virtually speaking. If you have a server that they want access to, they've got to manually try a whole bunch of different ports to figure out which one you're working out of, to figure out which door can open. AI can analyze that in seconds, and what a hacker used to spend months doing can now be done in a matter of seconds. Like, it's sped up that process greatly. Enhanced phishing and social engineering tactics, there is a real risk there. One of the things that has actually been done that they're working to curb right now is, let's say that you have a college age young person. Maybe it's a daughter. Maybe you have a granddaughter and they're college age and they're going to go down to Mexico, and they post that they're going to Mexico for their spring break or for some trip. And now that AI has just monitored that communication on social media. That individual gets down there, and while they're down there on their trip, they take, you remember I said they have that video? The ability to make a video that looks like you, sounds like you, talks like you. Guess what a bunch of people do on social media? They record themselves at different angles because you've got to get the plate of food in there, right? You've got to get a group shot, group selfie. And so they've captured video and audio as they're talking on it. So AI has been able to create a video that looks exactly like that granddaughter or daughter, sounds exactly like them, sounds incredibly panicked. They say that they've been kidnapped or they're being held, or they need some money sent to them because the police have got them. And they try a variety of them, and they've actually taken folks for thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in some cases, in individual cases, doing that. So there's some real phishing tactics that are being driven by that. AI created stealthy malware, okay? The way that your antivirus program works on your computer is it has a database. That database gets updated on occasion, and that's when it has an update, and it says downloading fresh definitions, right, or newest definitions. And so now they're saying, hey, these are malware attacks that we know happen. We're going to update our database, and when we're scanning your computer, whether it's in real time or a lengthy scan that's taking place, a full scan of your computer, we have that definition to go by. Well, AI is able to process much faster than what a traditional piece of software is, meaning that it can know in real time, hey, they're looking for me here, I'm going to move. And so malware and on all of that on your computers is something that's incredibly more vulnerable than what it was. Password cracking and circumventing biometric security, yeah, it can do that too, and it can do it much faster than any human would be able to do it. Data analysis for precision targeted cyber attacks. They can look at your architecture on your computer, know what device you have, that they can analyze all the devices that are tied to your IP address and figure out the best way to hack you. It's made them a lot better at being bad. I should clarify that. Leveraging AI today, a guide for business owners, customized AI solutions. You can actually create a custom neural network. In some cases, they're affordable. In some cases, they are only affordable if you have some real benefit that you can get out of that over the course of the next couple of years. But it can be done, is being done. Strategic AI integration. And so you can probably leverage the power of AI in your organization or business now, just with what exists off the shelf, and then building some AI talent. So let's walk through these real quick. Identifying opportunities for AI in your business. You can assess your needs. Where could I stand with increasing some efficiency, some capacity? Where could I save time? Right? And that's going to be kind of the mindset you want to walk into this with. What could I ask AI to do that's going to save me or save my staff time? Selecting the right AI technology. Don't grab GPT just because you've seen a commercial for it. There are a bunch of AI solutions out there, even if you're not in the market for a custom built neural network. There are a ton of tools in the market. Do a little bit of research, reach out and ask somebody that deals in this kind of stuff for a living. They'll probably be able to point you in a good direction. Speaking of, Dwight and Jesse are here. Bother them. Also, you can bother me, but you know, they're a little bit easier to get a hold of. Implementing AI in your operations, my advice there would be start small. Start small. Don't jump in both feet, dip your toes in the water. Let one employee in one department handle it. And you take it and use it for one task, and then gradually expand from there. Take it slow. Building AI talent and culture. This isn't going anywhere, okay? The same way that Microsoft Word didn't go anywhere, the same way that Windows didn't go anywhere, the same way that Apple didn't go anywhere, AI is not going anywhere. It's going to get bigger, it's going to get better, it's going to get sharper, and it's going to become more integrated in every aspect of our life. I don't say that with very many things. I say that with a handful of things. And I say to you, it's not going anywhere. So get used to it, get familiar with it, get your staff familiar with it. If it's over your head, I completely understand, but get somebody on your team who's willing to dedicate some time and training to understanding this. It's going to pay off. And then continuously monitor and adapt from there. You're going to want to make sure that this is something, even if you have a custom neural network that's developed for your organization or your business, you're going to want to make sure that that's monitored on a regular basis. All right. AI's horizon, industry transformations, global economic dynamics is going to be a huge part of that. And then adaptation and innovation, it's going to change the game on a lot. So that is a really short version of what I normally give. And I think I've hit my time mark. I don't have time to get into all of that. I'm going to have to cut this short, but we would be happy to send you the full presentation. So I think I'm at my time limit. Kimberly, is that right, or Tom?
Yep.
I'm right there. Okay, so at this point, if you have a question, I can field that. Okay, right?
Yep.
Okay. Do we have any? Matt?
Thank you for coming here today. So you talk about the nudges, and that's very interesting. It's also very alarming. So how do we ensure that it's used for the good and not for evil?
Frankly, by keeping AI out of it. And just a question, Tom, or somebody, you may know this. Do I need to repeat that question, or does that mic tie in with the Zoom? If I can repeat it, okay. So for those that are tuning in online, the question was the nudges that I mentioned early on in the presentation to change somebody's mind or belief system. How do we limit or control that? That was the question. And so the answer to that is I think you keep AI out of it. AI shouldn't have a bias politically or surrounding a belief system. It's a tool. It's a computer. If you take that same kind of mentality and you walk into, let's say, a Best Buy, and they say, hey, what are you in the market for? And you say, well, I'm looking for a laptop. And they say Windows or Mac. And you say Mac. And you go Democrat or Republican. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't compute, right? It's just a tool. Let it be a tool. Will there be, to some extent, some of that happening? Yeah, I think that local government has an obligation. I think federal government, state government has an obligation to make sure that AI is being limited and being monitored. There are some people at the federal level that are looking at some of those things. And so I'm glad for that, but it is something we need to stay hyper aware of because they'll slip it in. It doesn't matter which side of the aisle you happen to be on. So I'd say work hard to keep it out and to put brakes on it. So.
Again, thank you for being here, very interesting. But to follow up on Matt's question, we're all bombarded with messages constantly, and those we don't control the AI behind that. And so the nudges are going to come, they're coming now. And so, what advice do you have with respect to how we take in information that does affect how we think?
So one of the things that happened recently with my wife, and I'll repeat the question. The question was, those nudges are coming in some form or fashion already. Maybe in the form of messages that come to us in email, maybe text messages, maybe native advertising as we're scrolling a website or reading a blog. Maybe it's a video that plays as an ad before we watch a YouTube video. Those nudges are there. So how do we control that, and what can we do about it? I would say to you that you've been influenced by messaging for decades, for your entire life. And so this is an evolution of it, but it isn't something that's new. Here's what I mean by that. My wife made an impulse buy, or what she thought was an impulse buy at a store. And she said, yeah, you know, I just saw it and I just bought it. It was just great. It was just an impulse buy. And I said, there's no such thing as an impulse buy. And she said, no, I've never seen this before. And I said, I guarantee you've seen it before. You've seen it between 8 and 14 times. And she goes, there's no way. And I said, give me your phone. And I looked up her history on some native advertising that had run specifically through the Google Ads platform, and you can do that. And so I started scrolling through displays, and I went, there it is once, there it is twice, there it is 3 times, second page, there it is 4, there it is 5, said, you saw this. And she was blown away by that. But that messaging is out there. And to your point, Ron, it's there for us now in the political sense, and as far as what we believe, the values that we hold, what we're told we should care about or despise, those nudges are there. What can I do to stop some of those nudges from coming through? One of the things you can do is, whether you have an Android device or whether you have an Apple device, an iPhone, you are able to anonymize the advertising that you have. If you have a Windows computer, you can shut off customized advertising. You can just search that down in the bar. Apple, you can do the same thing. And that won't stop the ads from coming through. What it does mean, though, is that they're not going to pick up on whether you're a liberal or conservative, or you're a Christian or you're not, or whatever the case may be. They're just going to assume that you're some average Joe Schmo from Main Street, Ohio. And that's going to severely limit the nudges that you get in regard to that. So anonymize. And if you want some tips on that, feel free to shoot us an email. We'll get those over to you. Happy to do it. There was a hand somewhere over here, 2 hands.
What are the applications AI for our defense, our national defense systems?
Many and broad. The question was, what are the implications for the application in our national defense systems? They're massive. The ability to consume information in near real time is incredibly powerful. Okay. Especially when you get into encrypted levels, communications that take place on hidden servers. That's what we refer to as the dark web. You don't get through an HTTPS. That's a Tor browser and an onion. And so when you can feed AI that kind of real-time information, you're going to be able to do predictive things like, hey, there may be a riot that breaks out over here. There are a whole lot of chatter politically and within this nation, and the vast majority of people are now leaning towards war, leaning away from war. The ability of AI to be able to say, hey, this is the model, this is how fast of this missile that's coming at me, this is how fast it goes, this is its trajectory, these are the possible points that it could land, here are the 10 options. As the next 5 seconds roll on, here's the 3 options it could go, here's the 2 options, here's the 1, right? Israel has what they refer to, of course, as the Iron Dome. That's something that was developed in conjunction with the United States, as probably some of us know. And so that's essentially what happens there. It's not that they have the ability to shoot every rocket out of the sky. It's that they have the ability to shoot the rockets out of the sky that are going to hit soft targets, civilians, and are going to do damage to human lives. So AI, its ability to process, analyze, and give output of information quickly is incredibly powerful. When you get into a large enough computer to tap into all of the different feeds of the different public cameras that are out there, right? And look at the different toll booth cameras and where cars are traveling, the applications are near endless for their ability to track the bad guys. And yeah, I'll stop there. I'll just say, yeah, because I could go the flip side of the coin and I don't need to. But I'll just say they're very broad, very varying. And the odds are that very good that it's already being used in massive ways. And the odds are also good that we'll probably never know the fullness of it until long after something better's come along. So.
Much lighter question. So I use Chat GPT for some educational materials, and it did find, you have to check what it gives you. Do you suspect as time goes on, as we get more data, that it will have less errors?
So
It's still saving time, believe me, it did.
Sure.
I still had to check through to make
Sure.
everything was factual.
So the question was, are platforms like ChatGPT going to get better with time? The answer to that is yes, and we're already seeing it. If you're running ChatGPT 3, which is kind of the free one that's there, then you're going to run into a lot of errors. It has a very limited data set, and it also has certain features turned off. And so then you get into the Turbo 3, and then you get into the 4, and then you get into the 4.0. And each one of those, it's not just, oh, it's better, like it's marketing material better. No, it's legitimately a different animal entirely. So each of those levels, if it's something that's legitimately saving you some time, it's probably worth $20 a month if you're not already paying for it. I would give it a shot on the 4.0, or even Gemini if you're getting into the educational space in specific. Google has invested heavily in classroom technology, and they're very invested in the education sector of the market in specific. So a much lighter question. Thank you. I don't mind. Heavy, light, I don't care either way.
So in the old days of social media, you could go to Snopes and figure out if something was real or fake. And so I sent my sister a really cool picture of a moth not too long ago, and she's like, Jill, that's AI. And I couldn't tell that she could. So is there a way to know whether the information you're being provided is AI generated or not? Where's the cheat sheet?
So where is the cheat sheet to know if what I'm looking at is real? The answer to that question is there isn't a cheat sheet that is real-time updated. That there are essentially what happens is there are databases that I talked about within GPT or Gemini, certain AI platforms, and they'll report those over. They'll query them via an API or an application process interface, and they'll now know the outputted answers that those things were given to some extent. Then there are tools that will say, hey, this is kind of how Gemini responds by default. This is how GPT 4.0 responds versus 3 versus 4. And they'll do some predictive work on that. The hilarious part to me is that some of those tools are actually AI themselves. So you're asking AI to tell on AI. And so, the old adage that you and I have been able to live by for a very long time, which is believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see, is not going to be true anymore. That there's going to rapidly come a day, and it'll be an intermediary period. The technology will catch up, and we're going to be able to get things that are verified as being human. And so that day will come. But in the meantime, there'll be a period of time where we're looking at beautiful pictures of moths or butterflies or waterfalls, and they're not real at all. They're just completely AI generated. The odd thing about that is that 9 times out of 10, that moth was actually a picture of a real moth once upon a time. The background was likely stripped, the colors were changed, it was put into a different environment, it was changed in size or shape, or had a different filter applied to it, but it started out as original content somewhere. And so there's a grain of truth in every AI image that's ever been generated. So you can take some solace in the fact that you were partially right. Anybody else? Yes.
So what do you think the best 2 AI stocks?
If you're a nerd, GPT 4.0 can pass a level 3 glue exam as a coder. So if you're doing something like, hey, I want a piece of AI to code me a macro for my Excel sheet, GPT 4.0 is going to be the bomb for you. It's going to do a really great job. If what you're looking for is more in the educational space or more in the content creating space, more in the writing space, Gemini is probably going to do a better job for you. And so those 2 would be the ones that I would say are the best contenders. The rest, to some extent, are pretenders. And I'll get in trouble for saying that because I think this is going on YouTube, but whatever, I stand by it. All right, I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. I don't think I'm the only one that had some mind-blowing concepts flying around here, but anyway, Josh, in appreciation of your time with us today, we present you with this rendition of the rotary wheel with the 4-way test on the back. I don't know if AI would be able to understand that concept or not, but it was made by the students of the Village Network and made the plaque locally. Next week, Summer Stage Wooster preview and highlights from their upcoming summer 2024 production of The Little Mermaid. That will be next week, and we stand adjourned. Thank you.